Welcome to Cortado Joe, where ancient history just kicked over the timeline and kept running. What if the clean little story we learned about humanity is mostly a museum label stuck on a very large, very messy box? Because every time archaeology gets a new tool, the past seems to reply. Cute theory. Try again. There are three questions archaeology still can't answer with anything close to a victory lap. Why civilizations appeared in disconnected places around similar times, how deep human intelligence really goes, and when people first reach places like Australia and the Americas. That's a wild state of affairs. We've got satellite mapping, ancient DNA, microscopic residue analysis, and yet the origin story still has huge blank spaces. The key is keeping the language honest. Evidence is evidence. Interpretation is interpretation. A cool mystery does not automatically equal Atlantis with better plumbing. Start at Göbekli Tepe and the surrounding Taş-Tepeler sites in Turkey. Around 12,000 years old, you've got monumental stonework, organized labor, specialist craft, shared symbols, social hierarchy, and settlement. Those are civilization-shaped ingredients showing up way earlier than the old agriculture-first script feels comfortable with. And reportedly, only about 5% of Göbekli Tepe has been excavated. The place is enormous, far larger than Stonehenge. Somewhere under all that material could be an artifact that completely redraws the picture. Its burial is still a fight. Some researchers see deliberate filling with rubble and broken sculpture. Others see natural sediment and landslides doing part of the job. Either way, this site has every historian staring at the floor and quietly reconsidering things. Then there's the island problem. Stone tools on Sulawesi, Flores and Luzon suggest human relatives crossed deep water channels more than 1 million years ago. One accidental drift event is a freak accident. Reaching 3 isolated islands starts looking like a pattern. The argument is brutally practical. A viable colony needs a lot of people, perhaps roughly 160 with ideal genetic conditions, and closer to 500 without them. The idea of hundreds of accidental castaways arriving in enough numbers to survive is a very tough sell. Deliberate boat building that early remains controversial, yet it's exactly the kind of possibility the evidence is forcing onto the table. A reconstructed skull from Yunxian in China may also be Homo longi, around 1 million years old. If that identification holds up, the split between sapiens, Neanderthals, and Denisovans may reach much deeper into time than conventional models assumed. The old Clovis first arrival date of about 13,000 years ago has already taken a serious hit from the White Sands footprints, dated around 22,000 years ago and broadly accepted. Then come the more contentious claims, tools at Chiquihuite Cave around 33,000 years ago, possible human activity at Pedra Ferrada in Brazil 50,000 to 60,000 years ago, and Volsquilo in Mexico, where artifacts were associated with deposits near 250,000 years old. Volsquilo is also the archaeology nightmare scenario. Artifacts disappeared, the site was destroyed, and later researchers couldn't fully recheck the original context. Deep history claims live or die on that ability to verify. The Great Lakes had a huge copper extraction industry beginning at least 9,500 years ago. One broad estimate puts total Archaic period extraction as high as £1.5 billion. Then the activity eventually stopped, for reasons nobody can confidently pin down. That's a useful correction to the idea that technology is a one-way escalator. People develop skills, lose access to them, abandon them, forget them, and rebuild later. Baalbek, Egyptian stone vessels, Chinese jade, Indian rock cut architecture, and the polished Barabar caves belong in the puzzle folder. Their technical achievements deserve scrutiny. They don't serve as automatic proof of a vanished super-civilization. Fossils are a brutally tiny sample. One comparison describes reconstructing humanity from fossils as trying to understand a whole book from a fragment of one page. Wood rots, metal gets recycled, glass breaks, coastlines flood, forests swallow structures, wars, climate shifts, and disasters erase the rest. So the absence of a 100,000-year-old boat is weak evidence that nobody ever built one. LIDAR, ground-penetrating tools, advanced scanning, and future AI analysis could find patterns old-school excavations simply couldn't see. Ice Age art across Europe includes roughly 32 recurring signs over some 30,000 years, according to researcher Genevieve von Petzinger. That looks like a durable symbolic system, even if it wasn't full writing. Other reported research compares 40,000-year-old marks with early Sumerian proto-writing in complexity. That claim needs continued testing, and it raises a deliciously disruptive question. How long have humans been storing ideas outside their own heads? We also have a child in Borneo who survived a leg amputation around 31,000 years ago. Healing for years afterward points to surgical skill, pain management, infection care, and a community that kept this child alive. That is profound human competence. Meanwhile, Denisovans are still known from a tiny handful of remains, while DNA reveals their influence and hints at lost ghost populations with no fossils yet found. The family tree has missing branches everywhere. Agriculture created surplus and permanent settlement. It also created land, crops, livestock, and stored food worth taking. That changes the stakes of violence fast. A major drop in male line diversity around 6,000 years ago, alongside evidence of violent death and mass graves, may reflect enormous conflict. The exact cause remains uncertain, so certainty would be cheap theatre here. And yes, ancient people also used psychoactive substances. A bone pipe from northwestern Argentina, dated around 2130 BCE, carried residues linked to anadenanthera seeds, which can contain DMT, bufotenin, and 5-MeO-DMT. That's direct evidence for intentional psychoactive use in the southern Andes. Bigger theories connecting psychedelics to religion, agriculture, or creativity stay speculative. The burning bushes acacia theory especially belongs in the conjecture drawer. The exciting conclusion is simple. The old timeline has become much less tidy, and that's good. A messy past gives us better questions. Independent researchers can push neglected possibilities into view. Archaeologists remain essential for doing the hard verification, protecting sites, and changing the record when the data demands it. Göbekli Tepe deserves excavation. White Sands deserves attention. Every extraordinary claim deserves extraordinary documentation. That combination is where the fun lives. That's Cortado Joe for today. Keep your mind open, keep your evidence standards high, and remember, humanity has been surprising itself for a very long time. This episode was generated by Podkey. Create your own at podkey.fm.